Mahek, you should keep your mic into the mute mode. Hello, Mahek, keep your mic into mute. So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the class of Cyber Physical System. And today we'll have a discussion. In fact, actually, today we'll have a kind of hands-on session onto the typical system for the data acquisition for the atmospheric temperature and humidity. So into the last few lectures, what we have discussed actually, starting from the introduction of the cyber physical system uh, to the various basic introduction about the cyber physical system and what are the typical cyber physical system, and then we take a one small understanding part about how the cyber physical system can be prepared for a one small furnace, and we have understood the typical flow of the information, that how the flow is going to happen into the cyber physical system. So basically the cyber physical system is nothing but it is a combination of hardware and software and their integration through internet. So there are certain hardwares involved into that, and that can be connected through the software. So that actually the first outcome of the cyber physical system is to have a better process monitoring. Then we'll be utilizing that information for computation of overall equipment efficiency, productivity, and so on. So purpose may be anything, depends on to the individual's company's requirement. But overall purpose is to connect the sensor data acquisition system to your typical physical system. Physical system may be anything, that what we have discussed into the previous session also. And I have also shared the Google form, but unfortunately I don't know what was happened with that. So I was not able to capture the individual's choice of cyber physical system. But into the previous lecture, I have shared the kind of things that everyone need to procure. I hope that everyone has uh, received that particular stuff. So based on that, actually, we have discussed the basic requirements associated with our first case study, which mainly based on to the collection of temperature and humidity, specifically atmospheric temperature and atmospheric humidity through the sensors. So we are having a few sensors which actually perform this task, and then it will be further connected to the data acquisition system. In that, generally we refer them as a microcontroller, and then we'll try to connect it through the internet, and then we'll capture the data to our own server or cloud-based server, and then finally we'll utilize that information for better monitoring. So basically the entire process I will try to disintegrate into the few steps. So first actually we'll capture the temperature humidity to our own system, say without connecting it to the internet. So basically temperature humidity will capture to our own system. Uh, then actually into the next time demonstration we'll understand how to connect it to the cloud and from the cloud, how we can actually have a better monitoring over that. So for that, actually, as we discussed, you need to have your own desktop, laptop, or in general what we can say computer system, which is mainly we are considering as a Windows based system. And then actually we require a kind of support system. As in the case of Arduino, we need to have access of GitHub. And then finally for the cloud application, we'll discuss onto the ThingSpeak. But today we'll not have any discussion onto the cloud, how the data will be streaming to the cloud, and from that how we are going to utilize it. But today we'll understand the entire process, initial phase, that how to take the data to our own system. It means temperature and humidity to our own system. Then into the Tuesday we'll understand the demonstration on that, how to stream it to the cloud. So basically into the last lecture we have seen that what are the requirements in terms of software, hardware, and slightly we have introduced the use of Arduino, or in general how to fulfill the requirement of it. So basically today we'll undergo the process of understanding that how the temperature and humidity through DHT11 and ESP32 can be captured and store the information in our own computer. Right? So that's what we'll understand. And to have a better demonstration, in our lab, actually my associate is there. So my associate actually will guide you to the development of this system. He is essentially a Mahek Rathod, and he is also working into the our own startup for the development engineer. He is qualification wise, he is basically a bachelor of engineering in mechanical engineering, and his core area of interest is manufacturing engineering and taking the application of IoT to manufacturing engineering. These are his contact. If you wish to have a further networking with him, you are free to do, right? So Mahek is also into our meeting now. Mahek, are you able to listen? What?
Yes, sir. I'm comfortable.
Okay. So now actually, with all participants due permission, actually I will hand over the hands-on session to the Mahek. So he will demonstrate how the actual system will work. So first, actually, he will go through the kind of theoretical aspect uh, about stuffs and all, right? So Mahek, I think you can. I'm actually going to. Yeah, I'm stopping the presentation over here, and then you will start to present. So again, you need to send me the request of it. Right? Actually, I stop it. So now you can start to present your screen. Yeah, go to the full screen mode.
Yes, sir.
I
Is it
think
visible properly?
in the earlier slide, I think the information related to LinkedIn was pop-up of mine information. So probably we have not. So go to your first introduction slide. Yeah,
Okay.
this one. Next. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Here it is yours. So what I request, Mahek, actually first you introduce you. Although I formally introduce our own audience, and just let me brief actually about our own participants. See, we are running the one certification course called Cyber Physical System with the NIFFT, which is very much well-known institute in India in the domain of foundry and the forge technology. And in my opinion, it is the only institute which is running the 4-year graduation program in forging and foundry, which is very much old institute. It has been established into the 60s, right? So now the Mahek, actually you can discuss with them. Meanwhile, I will also be into the session. So With all due respect of the participant, I'm handing over to the mic. Yes, Mike, you can go ahead. Go to the full slide mode. Hello, Mahek. Mahek, are you using the double screen along with the monitor and the laptop both? Hello.
Actually, my mic. Yes, hello, sir. The mic was muted. Sorry.
But your screen is not into the full mode. Hello.
Is it visible now?
Yes, now it is visible.
Okay. Hi, my name is Mike Rathod, and I'm an R&D engineer in our own startup, Udyog 4.0 LLP. You may know our director, Dr. Amit Sata. He is well known in terms of foundry technologies and other stuffs. I'm mainly working in area of manufacturing engineering and Internet of Things. I have developed two patented equipments. One is permeability and second one is viscosity, density and viscosity, density, specific gravity and pH equipment. Right now we are developing other equipment such as needle penetration and softening point for the wax testing also. My background is I'm a bachelor's of mechanical engineering. I have passed out recently in 2020, and these are my contact. You can contact me if you have any doubt from this session, and I'll be pleased to have you on call or on a message. So we'll start from a sensor called DHT11. These sensors are basically manufactured or designed to have a better understanding or to fetch the data from real-time environment. These are not hardcore sensors. These are sensors which can be applied to the normal situation where the temperature and humidities are in the normal conditions, such as the temperature range can be 0 to 50 degrees Celsius, whereas the humidity ranges are 20 to 80%. These are not this cannot be present inside a corrosive environment. Also, it is working on a voltage based sensors. So you can see there is 10 ohm pull up resistors over there. Basically, all the sensors run on current, but microcontrollers can't understand the current sensing. So they have to shift from current to the voltage. So we present 10 ohm pull up resistors that will give the idea from current to the voltage. There are basically 3 pins connected with the DHT11 sensor. First one is signal. Will receive the data from the sensor to our microcontroller to the signal pin. We will have to supply our voltage to the VCC pin. VCC is basically a short form of voltage common collector, which collects the voltage from our microcontroller or a power supply module from to the sensor. And third one is ground. We have to attach it to the positive and negative, and ground system finishes the loop. So basically we directly go from current to the voltage through the resistor. Then we have to supply a voltage. Then we have to connect it to the ground, and we'll fetch the data from signal pin. That's a simple plan. This is the basic circuit. We'll connect it with our microcontroller, which is called ESP Node MCU32. Node MCU is a term which is for the all microcontroller system. in this particular image. Node MC is a basic parameter that connects Wi-Fi to our Arduino module. And ESP32 is a chip for the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. We have connected our module with ESP32. See, I have demonstrated blue line with the signal, the red line with the voltage, and the black line with the ground pin. As you can see on the microcontroller side, the red line is connected with 3V3. 3V3 is essentially a 3.3 voltage line. On the ESP32, it is a 3.3 voltage pin, and it is connected with DHT11 sensors voltage VCC pin. And the second pin is ground, G and D. It is denoted with G and D pin, which is a ground, short form of ground, and it is connected with the third pin, which is ground of DHT11 sensor. And the first one is a signal pin, which is connected with here D2. You can connect it with anyone that has capability with which has capability to connect it with. You can connect it with D27, D26, D23, anything that can be connected, as far as it is a GPIO, which will go in further lectures or in a future. But right now we are concerned with D2 or D27 pin. We can connect our microcontroller. We can connect our microcontroller with our PC via USB module, USB pin, which is connected through here. I will show physically how to do that, but we'll connect it through here. So essentially, Arduino IDE runs on a set of commands. We'll have to give certain commands to microcontroller so that it can understand how it has to perform some task. Initially, we'll define and import what we want and how we want. So starting from the importing the library, first we have to import the library. As Amit sir has shown in the previous lecture, that how to import a library. So I think you have knowledge of importing. So we'll define now that how to import a library. First, we will have to start with has. Has is a command to include everything. You can include any of certain libraries. It is a certain denotation to the coding. First, we'll include .dht.h. It is written under that. The second one is definition of a pin. I want to connect my DHT with the 27 numbers pin. So I will define it with DHT. See, here I have included that, and then I have included the DHT pin 27. Then I will announce that via which sensor I want to connect, because there are certain number of DHT sensors. DHT is essentially a digital humidity and temperature short form, and I want to connect it with DHT 11 number sensor. So it is written over there that I want to connect it, define DHT type and define DHT 11. So it has a certain denotation. First I am defining DHT type, and then I am announcing that I want to connect it with DHT 11. Now I have to give it the command that okay, I have connected at the DHT pin 27 and I have connected with a DHT 11, but the microcontroller doesn't know that how the two are connected. So we are announcing that first they are DHT and then DHT pin with the DHT type. The DHT pin is 27, DHT type is 11. So those both are now into the loop. It is a import and definition section. So first we have imported our library, which is DHT. Second one is pin. Third one is our sensor, and then we are defining whole system that Okay, first that is a DHT, then second one is DHT spin, and third one is DHT11 sensor. So those three are now connected. Also, don't forget to put semicolon over there. Those are very essential when you are defining anything. If you have a mistake of a semicolon anywhere in the code, it will run out of a number of errors. Okay. The second one is a setup section. You can concern it with a one-time setup. It is essentially one-time setup with which we'll do all the tasks. So we'll have to announce at which frequency we'll have to connect the sensor with our computer. We'll connect it with the 9600 frequency. We'll start it with serial begin. Okay, the serial begin denotes that we'll connect the sensor with the computer via 9600 baud rate. Baud rate is a term used for a frequency to connect the microcontroller ID via the sensor. Okay, then we'll start the DHT. Will have to say it to the microcontroller that please start the DHT sensor. It is a one-time service that will be provided from our side to the server, to the microcontroller. Okay. Uh, these two are essentially the definition and setup section that where we are concerned with our Arduino IDE, that how those two are mainly connected with each other. So these two are essentially for the communication between Arduino IDE to the sensor. Okay, how you are connecting two sensors, how you are connecting to the sensor from the computer. First, we'll have to define how the library connects, and then we have a setup section where we have shown that at which frequency we are concerned and how to start a DHT. Okay. Now I'm going to show you that this loop section actually runs at a number of cycles. Those in the past, if you have seen anything, these two are essentially a term that you can say a loop is an if you aren't completing a loop, it will run for a number of times. So so the first we'll define that what we are actually concerned with. We want to fetch the humidity from the sensor, which is I have defined it with the float. Float is a uh, Float is a data type that will fetch the data a decimal of 4. And second one, I have defined the temperature variable. The float h is equal to dht dot read humidity. So I have defined that okay, the h variable will get the data from humidity, and the t variable will fetch the data as a temperature. Those two will save your data in that variable. If you will publish h, it will show you the data of humidity. If you will publish the data of t, it will show you the data of temperature. And from where it will fetch from dht.h, dht.read humidity. So we have created a function where we are fetching the data in variable called h from the function called dht.read humidity. Okay, and then we are going to print that data in our serial monitor. So serial monitor is a is a display where we can see our data where it is going to fetch, and now we can see our data actually. So to be able to represent in a nice way, will have to show it to the serial monitor. So we can write our commands over there. If you want to print a comment every time, put it inside a quotation mark. That is a basic necessity, that every time you want a certain data that can be printed in a serial monitor. See, I have started a sentence from a humidity. So I am telling to the microcontroller that I want to print humidity. So I have printed that okay, the humidity is in from starting. Uh, And second one is a serial.print. It is written that h is a variable, so it will print that the real time data into h. The third one is a unit, serial.print in a percentage, because humidities are in percentage unit, as we know. Fourth one is a temperature. uh, uh, fourth word will be the temperature printed over there, and the fifth one is a t. Now, as compared to the h, the t are similar. Both of them will present our data in a real time, and the last one will be the uh, percent, the Celsius unit of temperature, and it will give you a certain sentence formation over there. Serial don't print ln prints that we have a break over there, and serial dot print it writes a data in a certain sentence formation. So it will give you a sentence over there. Humidity, h h is a certain data such as 20. After then percentage, fourth one will be temperature, fifth one will be fourth one will be temperature, fifth one will be the data of temperature such as 50, and serial printing is a degree Celsius over there. Then we'll define at how much temperature, at how much difference we'll have to fetch the data, the time duration at which we want the data to be served. And DHT sensor has a frequency of 1 Hertz. It means that it can send the data at every 1 second. Okay, so we have a choice that we can find the data at minimum 1 Celsius, 1 second, and we can fetch the data at 5 seconds. We can fetch the data at 10 seconds, but we cannot fetch the data at 0.5 second because of the frequency of a DHT sensor. Okay. So I will show you presently over there, and then we'll upload that code into our Arduino IDE, and we can see it on a serial monitor. Okay. Now I'm going to show you in a physical manner that okay.
Like you can show the individual component what we are going to use, and
Yes, sir.
then try to connect with them, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you. This one is a component called breadboard. Breadboard has a capability to connect the sensor in a series and parallel mode. Everything in this connection has a series. Sorry.
We don't see your screen. Screen is not.
Sorry.
Your screen is not visible.
Okay. Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah, it is visible actually. No, just go to the other mode of the video, right?
Okay,
Like,
sir. It was.
right.
Sorry.
Go to the other mode of the camera.
Yes, sir. It was connected earlier then.
Yeah, it was there actually. The breadboard I was able to see.
Okay. It may take a second, I think.
out. Yeah, come out from the sharing mode. Again, you start to share.
Okay. Okay. Is it visible now?
No, no, no. Now it is visible. Yeah, now it is visible. Perfectly fine. You
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Um, so this one is a breadboard. Sorry.
Not visible to us.
It is visible. Yeah.
Uh, please see in my video section over there. I think
No. Actually, I am able to see. Right. I think
Anyone else? Archit?
We are not able to see.
I am
I am
able.
also.
Yeah, I'm able to see the breadboard and all that.
please keep it as a full screen from video section.
Yes, Mac, you can start, right? No problem. I think it is an issue. Your voice is also breaking. Hello.
Sir, I am saying that screen is not visible.
No, it is visible from the my side. Anyone else who is facing the same issue that they are not able to see the breadboard which is lying onto the screen now? Anyone?
Yes, sir. We are not. I am not able to see.
Okay, you are not able to see.
Okay.
Who is that?
Means the screen is not visible.
I think Harshit, you right, and anyone
Yes.
else?
Yes, sir, it is not visible. The
Then
screen is not visible, sir.
actually, I am able to see. Have you shared the screen actually? Uh, Mahek, actually, have you shared that screen? Because
No,
I am
sir,
able
it
to
is
see
in
from my side.
by default mode of video. I'm sharing my video from there.
Yes.
And
Actually,
now it is
Should I
visible.
share a
I
screen?
don't know why others are not able to see. I am able to see.
Should I share my camera screen from there? Maybe there, maybe they can see.
Actually, I am able to see. You kept the whiteboard, right?
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
yeah.
It is now in horizontal.
Yeah. Now it is into the. Actually, from our side, it is vertical. Now it is horizontal, right? Okay. Who has not actually? Harshit has put some concern. I think the another one is also.
Okay, now.
Is it visible now or not?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Mac, you go ahead, please.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Okay. This one is a component called breadboard. Breadboard are essential when we are doing a prototyping. This can be the breadboards can be used when we don't have to use soldering over there. So you can connect any component with any sensors via jumper wires without soldering, without any further ado. Uh, uh, this this line over there are essentially for the voltages. You can power your circuit via this if you are powering it outside from the outside power modules. They are connected in a parallel mode. So if you are connecting from one pin, whole strip will actually act as a seat act as a whole pin or a one mode. So if you are connecting your power module from here, you can actually get power from another pin from here in a straight line. So this whole strip and this whole strip actually has a parallel connection over there, and Also, this pin also has a parallel connection, but they are in a crisscross connection. So from here, see, this voltage strip is has a horizontally parallel, and these pins are vertically connected. So if you are connecting from here, then they will go from here. These 5 pins, as you can see from a video, that these 5 are in parallel connection. So from if you are connecting from starting, it will have the same data over here also and here also. So they are vertically in parallel, whereas these power lines are in a horizontal parallel. So essentially they are connected in parallels, but they are differentiated by their positioning of a parallel strip. You can see from a bottom perspective. See, these are the strips for the voltages. So they are connected in a section where they are horizontally connected with each other, and in the sensor area they are connected vertically. So if you are connecting from here to there, they are in the same loop, and if you are connecting from sensor area, they are vertically connected. But essentially the vertical pin has only 5 pins in a parallel, whereas the voltage strip has a lot of, or you can say 20 pins are in a parallel. So power modules are essentially for the powering the modules such as microcontroller, sensors. So we need more pins related to the power, whereas a sensor which is connected with the vertical stripe has a lower capacity, because we are not concerned with many of sensors connected to the many controllers. So it has only 5 pins, which is a logical answer to that. Then I am showing you this DHT pin. See, I have shown you the photo of this earlier in a presentation. You can see from here that there is a denotion of a S. S is essentially a signal pin, then VCC, and then this ground pin over there. DHT sensor is this much small, and this blue chip actually is a sensor, and the black one is a PCB that has a 10K pull-up resistor. You can actually connect it with a PLC via direct module. This blue pin can be directly connected with any PLC that can be operated on a current. But since all the microcontrollers operate on the voltage pins, they are connected via resistors. So we will have to make a PCB over there. And third one is our microcontroller. This one is actually a ESP32 pin, or a ESP32 microcontroller. It has 32 pins, and you can connect it with as many sensors as 30 GPIOs. GPIOs are pins that you can connect sensors with. Actually, IO pins uh, IO pins give you the data in terms of 0 and 1, whereas the analog pin, you can see from the bottom, all the terminologies are written over there, but I don't think so that in a video you can be able to see, but all the numbers are written over there in your microcontroller, or if you have received, it will be written over there if you have in your hand or something like that. Also, ADC pins receive the data in terms of a range. You can get the data in the range of 0 to 1023, and in terms of digital, you get the data of 0 and 1. This microcontroller will transform that 0 and 1 and 0 to 1023 into your useful information. So when this DHT sensor gives you the data of 0 and 1, this microcontroller will transform that data in terms of your temperature and humidity. So essentially, a temperature gives you a data of 0 to 1, and the function of microcontroller is to transform that data into the useful information. Earlier we have written a code of a DHT which has a library called dht.h. So that dht.h library will transform the data from 0 to 1 to our useful part, which is a temperature and humidity. But we will have to write a code, a certain code over there, that how to connect it with else. So we have written that show it us at every 1 second. We have shown that how to fetch the data and what are the parameters that we want to fetch. Essentially now right now we are fetching only two data from the sensor, which is temperature and humidity. Okay, and we'll have to connect this sensor with this microcontroller via something on a breadboard. So jumper wires are used for that purposes. When you are using a breadboard and sensors, you can connect it with the breadboard via jumper wires. Jumper wires are essentially, you can see there are mainly three types of wires, jumper wires. You can see, I will explain it. Let me present you. Okay. If it is visible to you, there are two pins from a jumper wire. Okay, both of them has a pin outwards or a shaft, a little pin over there. So both of them are called male to male jumper wires. Okay, and the second one has a, see, there is one pin over there and there is no pin over there. It actually has a valley over there. See, so one pin is called male and other pin called female. Okay, and the third one has none. See, both of them has no pins over there. So depending upon our requirement, we can connect it with our sensor to the prototyping. Both of these pins does not have any sensors or any pins over there. So both of them has a valley over there. So both of them are called female to female. See, first one is our male to male, the second one is a female to female, and the third one is a female to male. Every sensor does not have this kind of pin. It varies from sensors to sensors, so we have to take the data from our side, that how they are being connected. Now I will going to demonstrate how we can connect our sensor via a breadboard. First, I'm going to place a breadboard over there. Then we'll have to put this microcontroller on a board. If you can be able to see that these pins are essentially designed for the microcontrollers to be connected with the breadboard very easily. The distance are 2.54 mm, and these are very much easy to use breadboards. You can directly connect it with it. See, I have just put it over there and I will have to just push it very gently and it will be connected very easily. Okay, you can see it is very much connected. Then I will put this DHT sensor over there. Then we'll collect the data. If you are using any jumper wires, please make a habit that if you are going to connect it with the sensor, use red color for the voltage, black color for the ground, and you can connect any color of your choice with the data pins or a sensor pin that fetches the data from our sensor to this microcontroller. Okay, so I will connect. I have connected this red, the middle pin. If you are able to see, I have connected middle pin via red wire from a voltage pin to the voltage pin of a sensor. The last pin is a black pin. I am going to connect it with the black pin over there. I'm using male to male because these breadboards are used has a valley over there, so I'm able to connect it with the male to male jumper wires. And I'm connecting right now with the 27 number pin. You can use 2 number pin if you have ESP32. You can use any of pins that has a IO capability. You can actually go through a various websites. You can find a number of sources over there, but you essentially will connect right now with the DST number 11 number pin. Then I will connect my microcontroller via USB B type with my computer. See, it got red light over there because I have connected it my my laptop. And now you are
Now, Mike, I think you should stop the video of this and connect to your laptop. Yeah.
yes,
Good.
yes, sir.
No, it is.
Presentation.
Yeah, it is the PPT that you are showing, right? Change the mode. Get it to the Arduino, right? Stop the
Yes, sir.
means close this presentation and open that screen. Yeah. Also stop the video presentation. Stop it. The earlier one.
Okay.
Then probably.
So
Okay. Now go to the Arduino.
okay.
Yes.
Okay. So right now I'm uploading this code. It is being compiled, as you can see. Okay. Okay, it is being compiled and then it has uploaded into our microcontroller. You can visualize this data from this serial monitor. I think yeah. See, you can see the data. It is real-time data coming from that particular microcontroller. Humidity, as we have printed humidity in the starting, it is printing over there humidity. Then the H is around 52. Then the percentage. Then again the temperature, which we have quoted inside a quotation mark. Then the T variable. Right now the temperature here is at 31.70 degrees Celsius, and then the degree Celsius unit, which we have also quoted inside a quotation mark. So when I was explaining serial.print in concept, we have started it from humidity, then H variable, then percentage, then temperature, and then T, and then percent degree Celsius. So you can see it is going to also, it is showing you every time in a new line. So as you can see, over here we are printing humidity, H, percentage, temperature, T, and degree Celsius. At the last, I have printed serial.print ln. ln tells you that you have to show the data at every new line. Also, the delay is around one second. If you want to switch it to the new one, you can start it delay with a 2 seconds. Keep in reminder that these are in microseconds, so you have to uh, multiply it with 1000 every time. So now I think it makes sense to you that how this code works actually. mm, these are the real-time data which are right now coming from my side, from the DHT11 sensor to the computer via serial communication. Serial communication essentially to fetch the data at an offline mode. I think in future sessions we'll go to the server mode. We'll connect it with the ThingSpeak server via this microcontroller. ESP32 pin has a capability to connect it with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. So you can connect the computer or your microcontroller with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth mode also. Thank you.
Yes, so actually we try to demonstrate that how the system works for this. Then actually I'm also trying to present actually just there are 3 pins into the DHT11. Actually there is a positive, ground and signal, so you can actually easily create with that. I'm just quickly running to the presentation what actually he was trying to tell, and I will also try to share the code if you wish to have a reference of the code. Otherwise actually there is no difficulty into the running out the code, right? So now we are open for the discussion. If anyone is having any kind of confusion, doubt, you can actually share.
Hello, sir.
Yes, yes.
I have one Arduino Uno. So can I use that instead of ESP?
Yes, you can use Arduino Nano, right? Or Uno, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, you
You
cannot
can use.
send it. Hello, sir. Uh, you can
But it
use Arduino Uno, but
with the
it will
internet.
not share the data with Ethernet. Yes, sir.
So you can take it to your own system. There is no doubt about that. But you cannot take the data to the through the internet to the cloud. But for this moment, you can use the similar kind of code. There is no issue in that. Just you need to define that in place of the ESP32 board, you need to include into your board that Arduino Uno if it is not available into your software of Arduino, and you can also define the pin accordingly, and that can be easily. It means almost similar code you can use for that.
Okay, sir. And I have Wi-Fi module also. So
So
will that
yeah, then we'll also understand that how to connect the special Wi-Fi module with Arduino Uno, and then send it data to the cloud. So Mac actually we can also arrange similar kind of things into the Tuesday's session. That
Okay.
just how to connect the Arduino Uno with Wi-Fi module and all. Just you need to arrange the Wi-Fi module along with the Arduino Uno, and then it will stream the data to the cloud. So there is no big deal into that. That can be done.
and
So
sir, hello, sir.
yeah, please.
How the time was coming in the in that serial monitor? There was
Time,
no code for the
time
time.
it is directly fetching from the hour system, and we have fixed the time duration of 1 second, right? In our code, it is 1 second, Mac, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
It is actually fetching the data from our computer. There is an option over Arduino IDE that if you want to print a timestamp or not, if you will click on the generate the timestamp, it will show you the timestamp over there. If you have installed the Arduino IDE.
So in this session, actually, we have seen that how the data will be fetched from the sensor through microcontroller to your PC. It means your own storage of the hard disk, and then it will be printed through the serial monitor. So that is a very easy task. So into the next lecture, we'll try to show the demonstration of that how this the same data what we are having in our system or what we are having in the microcontroller, that can be connected through the internet and will stream the data to the cloud. So as a open source cloud, actually we are going to utilize the system of ThingSpeak. So probably will not see the exact demonstration what we have seen in today's session, but same way into the next lecture we'll go through the demonstration of ThingSpeak and theoretical version of it, and similar to the this kind of the data demonstration we'll see into the next Sunday's class. In that we'll connect the data to the server of the ThingSpeak, and from that actually in our own mobile, which is Android based mobile, we'll see the data and we'll try to represent the data in the form of real-time charts, and if we wish to have a storage in visualization in terms of only numerical values or a chart, that we will see. So into the next session we are going to extend this fundamental, and we'll see the how the ThingSpeak can help us. These are the open source technology what we can utilize into the course like this. But the same way, if you are having a connectivity with your own server, or maybe you are having your own server, you can also use the AWS, which is also providing the this, open open platform for some period of time. So that also we can utilize, but for this moment we are going to utilize the AWS because it is also going to provide us a connectivity with mobile. So in that sense, into the Tuesday session, we'll learn how to take the data to the cloud, and then again onto the next Sunday we'll have a typical demonstration of that, how to represent the data to your dashboard as well as to the Android based device. Then once the data will be stored, right, just we are going to have a demonstration of DHT11, so we'll complete that cycle. Then into the next cycle of understanding, we'll take the another type of sensor. Most probably we'll take K-type thermocouple, which is generally used in mostly mechanical devices where we are dealing with the high temperature. So we'll learn that, how to do it. Then we'll learn the same cycle for combining the two or more sensors into the one ESP32, and we'll stream all the data to the server and we'll represent. Then once the data is stored, right, then we'll learn that how it will be used in a monitoring purpose, and we'll understand how it will be used for a prediction or analytics purpose, right? So for that we'll have a different class altogether, right? So again, if you are having any questions, any kind of concerns, right, please share with me, or you can also send the message to the Mahek if you are facing any kind of problem or error while performing the task. Still, we have utilized the power from the laptop, so there was no issue related to power, what you can say, changing of power from AC to DC and all. But suppose we don't have a laptop to supply the power, then we are going to utilize the SMPS. So Mike, actually, I think into the next time we'll also show the demonstration with the SMPS, right? Because it is more realistic version to.
Sure, sir.
Okay, so if you are not having any further questions, I think would like to end the session over here, and I will also try to share the form for taking your inputs about your own physical system, right? So thank you everyone for extending the support and having patience in listening. Thank you everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you Mahek. Thank you.